Ro.8, ByuN, Solar, Maru, GuMiho. Africa TV, Freak Up Studio, Live, 2023, GSL Season 2.
Welcome back, everyone. We're now ready for the winners match here, and kind of a crazy winners match. Kind of wild that it's going to be one of these two to go in first into the round of 4. Solar and GuMiho in a group with Maru, also in a group with ByuN. Those two are going to duke it out after this in the losers match of all places, but now it's just about these two. I think you would agree with me, State. This was an upset.
Yeah.
We've had nothing but upsets today. And I think this is doable for Solar. GuMiho does seem to be in great shape, but man, would it be cool to get a Zerg in the round of 4.
It would be really nice to have a Zerg in the round of 4 and just have that locked for a little bit of diversity at the top. As the Terran players in Korea, they're so good, and there's so many top players for Terran right now too in Korea as well. I mean, I feel like nobody that's here is undeserving of being here, but you gotta love having a little bit more flavor and a little bit more diversity, you know, as just a fan of the game, right? And I say that, but also I'm kind of pulling for GuMiho here. I gotta say, I mean, that series against Maru was so good, and he is in such top form right now. It feels like GuMiho might be one of the best Terran players in the world, like top 3 maybe with Cure and with Maru.
He seems to have some real insight here. And obviously, this is a very different Terran for Solar to go up against. ByuN was no easy task, but Solar did come out on top victorious. But GuMiho, a different beast, a totally different style of play. What exactly does Solar have in store for us now?
We'll have to wait and see. Of course, GuMiho did get the best of Solar early on at the ESL Summer Masters. We'll see if Solar can get his revenge and book his first ticket to the semifinals.
Season 2. Onside Gaming, Solar. GuMiho.
So if you're just now joining us, there have been huge floods in Seoul. Not in Seoul, so you mean South Korea. But, you know, GuMiho doesn't live in Seoul. He normally takes the train up here.
And not the subway, like an above ground train, the KTX or the ITX.
Right, right. And since the trains are closed because of the flooding, what does this say?
Went all the way to Korea and only got this last sign.
Hi, Mom. Welcome, guys. So, since GuMiho could not get up to the studio because it was physically impossible for him to get transported up here, he is playing from home. That's why he has that different background. It's a green screen. There are anti-cheat cams in there that are being monitored as well. And this is actually on a delayed stream. So
yeah, 3-minute delay, 2 anti-cheat cameras behind him that are being monitored by staff here at Africa. So yeah, it's everything's above board here. And I mean, it really is a natural disaster what's been going on here in South Korea. I mean, the rain has been so torrential, and it's really affected a lot of the rural communities here in Seoul. It's quite sad, honestly.
Yeah, ever since I moved out here, I've always been blown away by the summer monsoon season and just the downpour of rain. Sometimes we get about 1 to 2 weeks where it feels like everything's out of commission. But I mean, so far, GuMiho has kind of done the impossible. He beat, of all players, Maru, and 2-0 in 2 very different games.
Yeah, GuMiho's been able to show a wide range, and we'll see if he kind of brings the same flavor here to this series against Solar. I mean, I wouldn't say it's beyond what GuMiho is capable of, just coming through with a couple of very different builds compared to what Solar had to face off against ByuN here in this series. Because GuMiho, I mean, keep in mind, back in Wings of Liberty when he was getting his start as a pro gamer, he played random, and I feel like even now you can kind of feel, I don't know exactly how to say it, but You know, like when you have like, you drop something in like a lake, you just see like the ripple effect of that is continuing on and continuing on and continuing on. He still has that flair of a random player despite now only playing Terran.
It's this kind of creative mindset, excuse me, that I think you have to have if you're a random player, that you have to be able to adapt quickly and kind of see interesting solutions and interesting weaknesses in your opponent, especially early on. And yeah, I mean, he's always had that kind of RTS player brain for sure.
He thinks about the game very differently from a lot of other top Terran players, and it's one of the reasons why he's so exciting to watch. And now coming through with this game, really fast third command center and a Cyclone opening here from GuMiho.
Now, you know, ByuN, he's really a pressured Terran. He's always able to make, you know, more value out of fights than almost any other Terran in the world, especially in TVZ. GuMiho has many different approaches. He does seem to have such a range that he can do weird out there mech stuff or wonky like Cyclone pressure stuff into bio or, you know, whatever. But he also is able to play your standard style of TVZ, which is, I think, what makes him such a scary player to go against.
He can kind of do everything, not just in TVZ, but in pretty much all of his matchups. He has that range and a bit of a quirky zest to his play as well. Here coming through with the same build that we saw earlier from ByuN almost. A couple of Marines and a Cyclone with a medevac. I like this is catching on. It's the little unit interactions you can get out of this drop are always fun. I mean, it's never that impactful, but it's usually a treat. And behind this, actually going into Cloak Banshee.
Okay, so once again, a little bit of pressure here.
Ooh, doesn't quite get that Overlord.
Nicely done.
Oh, man.
Oh, my God. That didn't look like it was going to work for a second. That was wild. So that's a pretty big victory to come out on top like that. Banshee Cloak's almost done.
Oh, Big Fledling's actually going to try and come here into the natural expansion. Oh, GuMiho
what about
just
the
in
Flamey
time.
boys?
Yeah, I was worried. I saw only those two supply depots, but GuMiho with a nice read there drops the engineering bay.
The Roach Warren has started here, and we have more factories being made.
Two more factories. Going to have mech again coming out of GuMiho.
Yeah, I really thought he wasn't going to do that this time, but this is kind of cool to see. Now, obviously, mech requires a totally different approach, and the pacing of the game is very different. That being said, I mean, GuMiho he's got a reputation for meching, right? So, I mean, this can't be a total surprise for Solar.
And we'll see exactly what take on mech this is going to be coming out of GuMiho. He did go for a really fast third command center, which makes me think it's not going to be battle mech despite that early Cyclone that we had. We're waiting to see the units coming out of these factories, expecting it to be siege tanks, but no, actually going to be a Cyclone and Cyclone damage. So despite that really fast third CC, still going into a battle mech style is GuMiho. Huh. All right. Banshee speed coming in as well. This is a cool composition he is going for. We've seen battle mech a couple of times here in this GSL in TVZ, but along with Banshees, I think it's the first time I've seen this, at least the first time that I can recall. And now Solar coming in. This is a really nice scout getting these links in the main base. He knows that it's mech now. He sees another Cyclone in production.
Yeah, I mean,
he sees the
keep
tech
it
lab
simple
churning.
here.
Ooh, and a queen drop. Against Cyclones.
It seems like he wanted to have his own timing attack.
I feel like he's going to use this just to try and chase down the Banshees now. Yeah.
I think you're right, yeah.
More Roaches and Ravagers actually in production. Maybe he is going for a bust, Tasteless.
I thought that's what he's doing, but, you know, when you see two players attacking into each other on the map, it's like, well, one of you was wrong. You don't just, like, meet in the center of the map and have it out. Well, and so here we go. The timing attack is here. Remember that mech, you know, it doesn't quite activate as quickly as, you know, a bio build, right? You don't just have a couple Stim Marines and tanks. And so he's going to come forward. Remember that the Ravagers can actually shoot the tanks down on the high ground if they get the right positioning.
Yeah, this is a scary position right now for GuMiho. Has to evacuate third base, loses 16 SCVs behind all of that too. Not able to find much damage here with this Hellion drop either, and Solar not overcommitting, not pushing into the natural expansion, just says that, okay, I'm happy with the damage that I found on GuMiho's side of the map. I'm just going to retreat, continue to macro back up, and that was a very effective attack. GuMiho now only at 47 workers, and he really hasn't been able to get any tempo here with his battle mech style. Actually having to switch in almost fully into siege tanks now.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit of a headache right now. You know, for the Zerg, I mean, he's not really able to get in there and do much, but the fact that he kept him off the third base is pretty big. How is he going to deal with these Banshees? I mean, I think, you know, you see 1 or 2 Cloak Banshees, okay, and then the speed kicks in, and then the Banshees are just continuously coming. And it doesn't seem like there's any easy way to deal with this.
Miles coming in on those siege tanks, but there are a good number of them. Oh, actually, no, Cyclones. A little bit overextended there. That's going to allow Sora to push this position and take down even more siege tanks. So a lot of critical units right now falling for the Terran player. These Banshees continue to rain hell on this natural expansion. More damage coming in. So GuMiho doing a quite good job of actually evening things up a little bit here. But still, you got to feel like he's in not the best position.
Oh my God.
The one hell that actually is going to be able to take down this hatchery. And a Swarm Host switch coming in from Solar now, Tasteless.
Yeah, the Swarm Host switch. Well, this could actually be pretty deadly. I think that, you know, GuMiho's done a pretty good job so far, but Swarm Hosts are kind of the weak point of mech when it hasn't had proper time to develop. And that's exactly what he can basically set up for. He has a couple positions where he could just throw down a Nidus Swarm. Now, Banshees with Cloak could shoot the Nidus down. You got to be ready for that as well. A lot of times the strength of Nidus is that they don't have any recourse or any way to like get over there and hit it.
Yeah, the Banshees almost fulfill the same role that a Void Ray would for a Protoss player, as the Swarm Host even gets spotted by the medevac. And usually it's the first couple of attacks from the Swarm Host that get the most damage done. But now that GuMiho has spotted this, he can actually start to prepare back at home, and he's actually going back into battle mech, making more Cyclones, more Hellions. I think he wants to try and chase these Swarm Hosts down. Interesting to see GuMiho kind of navigate his army composition like this.
All right, he's coming in here with these Swarm Hosts. This is really wrecking the position. With Queens out now, he can cover this.
That's a lot of Banshees, though, Tasteless. Only 3 Queens actually on the ground, so some of these Swarm Hosts you got to think will fall. In fact, one of the Queens get disabled. You don't see that every day.
I know. How funny is this? By the way, I thought there was going to be a Nidus. For some reason, that never happened. I just like declared that. I'm like, I don't think there's Nidus over here. There's like no Nidus in the game at all.
Well, synergizes so well with the Swarm Host, but I guess, you know, with Hyperflight rotors on the field, I mean, I think Solar is just seeing a step ahead and identify the same problem that you did, where if you actually do go for that, then Terran does have recourse with the Banshees, so better just to walk across the map and use this creep spread that you've established.
He needs
in the
more
center.
Queens here.
He's like Hydralisks or something. The Queens are not cutting it.
He keeps coming up here with like a couple Queens, and he's like, oh no, these are not as good as I thought they were.
Hydralisk then now almost complete. So another disable comes down the Queens. One of the Banshees eventually does fall, but the problem here for the Queens is that the Banshees are so microable. I say that and just the Banshee dies with no control, but in theory, I mean, with the Hyperflight rotors, they're so good at just being able to navigate around the Queens, which really don't have any opportunity just to chase them down. And let's see how much damage he's able to get in.
Every tank over there. That was sick.
And GuMiho is not really rebuilding them either. He only has 1 siege tank in total right now on the field, just remaxing on Cyclones. And it's just the Banshees that are kind of anchoring the position right now for GuMiho. If he didn't have these Hyperflight Banshees, I feel like his position would already be completely forfeit. And so it's a little bit scary because you got to think that once Solar actually has reliable anti-air on the ground, whether it be Mutalisks or Hydralisks as he's opted for in this game, then suddenly GuMiho can't actually deflect these attacks with his Banshees anymore, and the problem becomes a lot more complicated for Terran to deal with. And now, finally, that Nidus work coming in.
Yeah, Terran taking the 4th base at 6 o'clock. If he gets enough Queens, I mean, he could cycle in and out of the Nidus and basically pelt the Terran, beat him down, then come back home and defend. There's been a lot of Cyclones and a lot of Hellions made up here, as it looks like he kind of wants to take that battle mech style out, bring it onto the map and try to get something done.
And oftentimes when we see battle mech, we see it used early in the game as a timing attack that's been hidden from the Zerg to try and kill them in one fell swoop. So GuMiho going for such a heavy Cyclone composition in the mid game like this, a little bit unorthodox, but very fun to see this play against a much more developed Zerg economy and still able to find damage like this. I mean, the synergy with scans and also being able to control the creep spread is so effective, especially with Hyperfight rotors. I mean, GuMiho is such a creative way of looking at the game.
Okay, here we go. Another big hit over here. The SCVs will evacuate.
Oh.
Nidus in the main. And is he going to be ready for this? He's going to go right on top of that CC. And dude,
it lift it.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you're not paying attention, that will actually just die. It looks like the Nidus is going to be denied. Maybe a little bit of a greedy play there from Solar.
Yeah, Nidus does get denied there in the main base. And I feel like GuMiho has been doing a good job of stabilizing, and Solar is going to go for this one big push. Very close to the main base right now of GuMiho already, so the Cyclones don't have as much territory to actually kite through, which can be a scary position here for GuMiho, especially should Solar push with one big volley of Swarm Hosts, but Banshee's catching them yet again. That's going to be multiple Swarm Hosts going down.
Man, these Banshees have gotten so much value out of this game. By the way, that CC is still really low. It might not be a factor here, but watch for that because, again, when you have this many Swarm Hosts out, sometimes you can just click down on the CC and they're not looking and they'll lose it. And it totally turns the game on its head.
Spire now in production for Solar, but really no bank to be found for him as GuMiho is not only stabilized back at home, but his growth economically has been very solid. This Hydra's 10 also not in a very defensible position. It will fall.
All right, he's forced to lift, but Terran's already grown into the bottom right. And, I mean, is there anything that Zerg has to actually deal with this death ball?
The Cyclones are very low on HP, and I think once the Swarm Hosts pop their next round, they should be able to shoot this away. Even without the Swarm Hosts, it's a lot of Cyclones going down for GuMiho. Seems like he might be a little bit over-focused here defending back at home. That was a lot of Banshees and Cyclones all getting taken out. I mean, GuMiho was very close to max, I think, before that engagement. So a nice swing and momentum here for Solar. Oh, and even catching these Banshees. There's no more Banshees on the field.
Okay, so that really opens up opportunities here for Solar because now the harass game is gone.
Yeah, no Cyclones on the field, no Banshees is just so comfortable.
There's two Mutas. We got a box art army over here.
Two Mutas gonna be accompanied by 3 Corruptors very soon.
Very soon.
Oh, there are still 3 Cyclones, so a little bit of map presence here for GuMiho, but not as much as before for sure. As those now even following the Swarm Host, and it feels like Solar momentum has massively swung in his favor. As this Planetary is going to get taken out, and with it, much of the economy for the Terran player. And I wonder now whether GuMiho is actually going to be able to stabilize again. Because I feel like he had to work so hard to actually get to a stable position, and then with a little bit of an overextension at the third base of Solar.
I think Solar might have just done it here.
Yeah.
If he gets into 6 o'clock, I think he's okay.
But we got to say though, the economic damage coming onto Solar has been a lot too. That's 26 drones going down. This expansion, it finally will complete, but it hasn't been mining for a very long time. And
how many Swarm Hosts are still in this game?
I want to say double digits.
Where are they?
But
dude, like, look at all the
I don't know.
Were they killed or something?
Only 6.
Only 6. Okay. So I was gonna say if he can. Oh, he's gonna get 3 Broodlings.
Yeah, Broodlords are coming out.
Broodlords, not Broodlings.
Yeah, lose well, he's gonna get Broodlings out of the Broodlords.
Broodlords.
You're still right.
They make Broodlings.
Technically, you're correct, Jason.
That was cute. Well, with the Swarm Host count down, it's a little bit harder to break the tanks, but I guess the Broodlords can kind of do the same thing.
Yeah, and I feel like GuMiho's going to need a little bit more of a response to the air right now. His army, it's mostly Hellbats and Siege Tanks. There's 1 Banshee. None of those units actually shoot up. It's only the 4 Cyclones, really, for anti-air on GuMiho's side of things, and that's a bit of a scary position. I don't even think he really has the starport set up back at home to begin to pump out units such as Vikings to actually contest this. So GuMiho, he's feeling very confident right now and is going to start moving across the map. But once he scans these Broodlords, it's going to be a little bit scary for him. One of those moments where your stomach drops a bit as a pro player, is now the problem that he has to solve has gotten significantly more complicated. But he will at least be able to get some economic damage done. Question is it going to be enough?
Yeah, you know, it's always dicey when you just have tanks and you try to roll out like that.
Oh, the hatchery is going to survive as well.
Well, I'm sorry, what's happening in the Terran's main? Something's doing damage there.
Oh yeah, look at
See
that.
blinking.
Is it like one locust or something? I don't know.
I have no idea.
Looks like 2 different buildings getting attacked.
Well, he's going to push down, and it looks like Terran wants to try to wrap around this. But remember, tanks are not that mobile.
I think it must have been locusts because they all just expired, but
Yeah, it must have been.
yeah, the Thors are going to come out any moment, which will provide some anti-air here against Solar's army, but I feel like Solar has been able to navigate this game well enough that he finally has a ball of units that GuMiho just really can't contest. I feel like his army composition is just almost hard countered here. 3 Cyclones, 3 Thors is not enough anti-air to deal with all of the Broodlords on the field, especially with the accompaniment they have on the ground.
This is rough. Nice harpooning.
Oh, nice lift. Thor lives to see another day. Not very long, though.
All right, I think that's game.
Yeah, interesting one here from Solar and also from GuMiho.
I mean, they both played really well. This has been such a day of good games.
A really loud round of applause for, I think, both of our players after that match. We've been treated to some fantastic games here in Group A of the round of 8. The Solar now 1 map win away from booking a ticket to the top 4. It's getting closer and closer, Tasteless. We might not have a repeat of an all-Terran top 4 like we did before.
Someone stop them. I mean, look, GuMiho, he had a pretty cool style. I think Solar, you know, he knows how to play against everything, and he showed a lot of patience. Even the Broodlord switch, instead of trying to go back into Swarm Hosts, really shutting GuMiho down. Is GuMiho going to try that mech style again? There's many ways to pull it off. The problem is Solar seemed to handle it so well. Honestly, right now, it looks like Solar had a harder time versus ByuN.
It does feel that way. I think there was a stage on Royal Blood where GuMiho had stabilized, but a bit of an overextension. Solar's the kind of player that's going to capitalize on that and carry it to a win, as you know, once he was able to clean up most of the army there for GuMiho, and especially catching those Banshees in the middle of the map, he did not let his foot off the gas pedal.
All right, guys, game 2 on Grezvin. Let's go.
2023 GSL Season 2. On-site gaming, Solar. GuMiho.
Okay. Going into the second game here, I'm going to be kind of watching this from GuMiho's perspective. I'm really interested in seeing what sort of game he wants to bring. Solar did mention earlier he didn't feel that confident in this match. Specifically, kind of almost felt like this was, you know, Destiny trying to push GuMiho into the round of 8 here, as this would be kind of the way that he could get through. But so far, Solar played a very solid game. And we got to see what's going to come in game 2. But, you know, whenever you have somebody who can go mech, the question is, you know, will they do it? And if so, how many times?
And especially with GuMiho, you have to wonder how exactly they are going to go mech if they do decide to do it. Is it going to be something that's going to be reminiscent of what we saw from Cure on the last day of GSL in Group D of the round of 16, where he went for a battle mech style that was very aggressive. It was focused on a timing attack aspect. It was not something that was supposed to scale up into the mid and late game. It was a killing blow. GuMiho, it's not really his style to try and play those kind of killer tactics in this matchup so much, but it's something that he definitely is capable of doing. And on top of that, you know, he very well could just not go battle mech. He could do something much more classical with Terran mech play, focusing on units such as Thors, on Hellions, on siege tanks, should he decide to go that route. So Solar, he's going to have to be very careful with his scouting and figuring out exactly what GuMiho is cooking up, because This is probably his best chance of getting into the round of 4 is this position right now. He's 1 map win away. Even if he loses here on Gresman, he still has 1 map left in this series where he can actually come away with a win and try and make it. And now you might not get that chance again, you know, should you go into the final match. It might be against Maru or it might be against ByuN, and those are 2 very difficult opponents with very different styles from GuMiho. So Solar, I'm kind of expecting him to play a bit of a more conservative game here and just be very diligent with his scouting.
So far, this game from GuMiho's perspective, it does look very similar. It's a very quick third CC, which doesn't tell us a lot yet. I mean, we need to see if it's going to be more factories. I feel like it might just be the same kind of stuff.
I think it might be mech again. And he hasn't made any bio units out of that barracks besides this Reaper, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe there is one Marine at home, but overall, it does seem very mechanic focused. Starport now coming in, Tech Lab being built as well. I'm assuming that's going to be on the barracks. Yeah, of course, we have 2 Hellions in production, so it might be Cloak Banshees yet again, or Speed Banshees perhaps, and we might have another mech game in store for us, Tasteless.
Hey man, I'm down for it. I would be totally fine with that. But yeah, as you were saying, I mean, there are many different ways to mech. And, you know, that last game, I mean, I did feel like GuMiho was doing pretty well until all the Banshees were shot down. And it really seems like suddenly he had no more map presence. He wasn't able to create the kind of chaos that you need to have if you're going to basically get into a position that's going to be very winning.
And the Banshees really were the answers to a lot of the roaming ground units there for Solar, because there was such little anti-air on the ground for the Zerg. And, you know, once he lost those Cyclones forward in a trade that seemed like it could have gone better for him, and when he also had those Banshees intercepted in the middle of the map by Solar's Hydralisks, that suddenly GuMiho just lost 2 of the most important tools in his belt. And from a position like that, especially against a player like Solar, it's very difficult to claw yourself back into the game. Mech is one of those compositions where it feels like you kind of have to play, I don't want to say perfectly, but you have to be very safe with the way that you do it. You can't take any really bad engagements because it's so difficult to get momentum back, and actually is not going to be mech. You know, he did go for a very tech-focused opening.
Yeah.
There were a lot of Hellions. He did go for Banshees and then into a Raven, mostly using that barracks just to produce add-ons, but now we're reaching, you know, coming into the middle game now with 3rd command centers, and we're going to have 2 more barracks getting thrown down, so.
Yeah, and so this is very cool to see. Nice catch, by the way. And a lot of the initial parts of this build, from the Zerg's perspective, until you see those barracks or you see Stim Marines, it does at least look kind of like the last game, right?
I mean, it had us fold and we could see the entire map.
Yeah, yeah. But, you know, in this game, it's going to be a very fun, very interesting one here. Now, I do want to point out, GuMiho has always been good at control. I don't think he's like a ByuN. I don't feel like he's a Maru. You know, there are these splits that those guys get that really are phenomenal. I would even say he's not a Cure. I might even, on Bioplay, put him even a little bit below Bunny.
We're just listing all the Terran players we think are better.
I'm like, now we're going to go outside Korea, over to Europe. No.
we got Big Gabe up there. Big Gabe, probably a little bit better control than GuMiho.
No, I mean, but what I'm trying to say is, like, his mech has been so strong and it's been so successful that, you know, we don't have, I think, as many star moments from GuMiho.
I do agree with you.
Yeah.
I get what you're saying. I feel like GuMiho...
And now on to StarCraft 1 bio play. All right, Slayer's Boxer, still maybe better than GuMiho. No, but seriously, you know what I'm saying.
I feel like he gets his edge, generally speaking, with his build orders and his strategic decision-making. I mean, that game against Maru, for example, I mean, I know that's a different matchup, it's TVT, but you think back to that series, Maru had double the bank that GuMiho did in that situation. If GuMiho didn't go for that play where the repairs inside the natural expansion of Maru and take that fight and actually get on top of the production, I think Maru just wins that game. And that's the kind of play that GuMiho really relies on, not just in TVT, but in all facets of his game to carry him to victories. It's really just creative, out-of-the-box decision-making that is so solid and often can catch players, and even us as casters, off guard in terms of what the outcome is going to be. But GuMiho, when he gets in those situations, it's very oftentimes his comfort zone.
Yeah, denied drop over here. 1-1 about to finish up. It's going to be matched with the Zerg armor upgrade. GuMiho beginning to shave off these little edges of creep out here.
Yeah, Banshee attacking the 5th hatchery as well for Solar. So GuMiho with really nice map presence right now. With no Bailing speed, he's able to get some quite favorable trades with these Lings as well, and any kind of chip damage you can get on the Zerg with engagements like that helps a ton in setting up for big pushes like the one coming onto the map right now.
It's going to be time to come out. I got to say, I think Solar seems to be in not as great of a spot as I thought. I think he's done okay so far here, but GuMiho does have a pretty sizable army. He's going to hit, as you like to call it, state that triangle third. This is probably the most pushable point on the map, especially at this phase of the game. Solar ready for the counterattack, tank in the front, Marines in the back.
Yeah, GuMiho is a nice setup to defend this. It's Solar, yeah, he walks in, immediately identifies he's not going to get the same damage he got against ByuN and just pieces out.
Yeah, that's cool placement, by the way, to have the tank far out enough. You look at that and from the Zerg's perspective with the vision range the Lynx have, you're like, oh, a tank, let's kill it. And then the Marines come in and stim it down. It's a very cool little tactical setup. Very subtle, easy to miss, but it's one that is pretty nice.
For a second, I thought Solar might be coming in with an even bigger counterattack after that one. And in fact, he might be. That's a lot of Banelings and Lings on GuMiho's side of the map. Now, an armor shredding turret will be able to connect with most of those Banes and Zerglings, so Solar is going to have to evacuate from this position, and that gives GuMiho the room to reinforce his position by the triangle third by Solar, and then also start to drop this expansion here in the top right.
Okay, a scan down here. And, you know, it's getting a little bit heated up here. I mean, both sides are maxed out. We've had kind of minimal interactions, right? We've had some spells cast there. We've had some Lings do damage to a tank. And we haven't had that kind of committed fight. We're getting to that boiling point pretty soon, I think.
Yeah, with both players maxed and GuMiho still sieged outside that third base, you got to think that the attack should be coming. But at the very least, what GuMiho is doing is he's exerting a lot of pressure right now on the Zerg player, and he is keeping the creep spread completely at bay. And he's setting up for some good drops because Solar has to focus so many forces on that front line to deal with any kind of push that might come in. Now Taste us all the reinforcements from back home have finally arrived.
This is so insane because, like, we haven't had any major exchange yet. It's like just been little interactions here. Solar may just give this up. GuMiho has exhibited so much patience. This base is going to fall, but at the same time, Zerg is growing right up into you know, the 12 o'clock spot here on the map.
The spread is so good for GuMiho too, with a Hellbat almost covering every single siege tank as well. So Solar having a really difficult time dislodging GuMiho from that position, loses the hatchery. Now down to 4 mining bases, expanding to the 12 o'clock position. And Viper's running the field, and I feel like for Solar right now, although you are very close to max, you want to wait until that Viper has energy for Abducts, for Blinding Clouds, and you want to wait until you have Adrenal Glands until you actually come in with that really big engagement on Protoss. And actually, 2 Lurker Dens in production for Solar right now. Maybe a little bit thrown off right now, feeling the pressure.
Yeah, you know, I got to say, props to Solar. He did not overextend back there. He's been really patient. We've got GuMiho on that 4th base, barely mining from that. Ooh, a good setup. He's going to push into the main. That's actually a pretty good idea because right now the Zerg is really defending the top right so much. A drop in the main looks pretty reasonable.
GuMiho is doing a very good job of spreading Solar thin, just roaming around the map. And now the medevac drop coming into the main base here. Hellbat and a handful of Marines. Also stop a good bit of mining. Does scout the Lurker Den as well. Actually going for the snipe on it. Able to get that Lurker Den. Little did he know that Solar actually made 2.
That's hilarious.
Actually does help Solar quite a bit here. I was just playing all along, Tasteless. He opened his third eye. He knew one of those Lurker Dens was going to go down.
This is such a funny game because Zerg is so stuffed to the top of the map, and then Terran's slowly expanding downward here.
I wonder if he actually canceled one of these Lurker Dens because upgrades have not started yet again in that production tab for Lurkers. All right, well, Ghost now entering the field here for GuMiho. Terran army composition getting more and more complex.
We have 50 Banes here.
It's a lot of Banelings.
3-3 is about to be done. And here we go, big attack comes down here. Nice blinding cloud as well. GuMiho trying to micro up here and salvage this position. And so far, so good. I mean, he's gonna go ahead and stutter step down.
Yeah, and I feel like GuMiho didn't have that many forces actually committed to that center position. Now, wasn't able to actually cancel this hatchery, so that hurts a little bit there for GuMiho. Solar was able to clean up everything in the middle, but at the end of the day, I think cost efficiency-wise, that's better for GuMiho, but Solar does have the superior bank with 2.5k minerals, just really hungry for gas.
And also, Solar has freed up the position on the map. He can now go wherever he wants. So this might be an opportunity for him to try to come in here and do some damage. But GuMiho looks to be pretty safe. Like, I don't see any, like, really easy position to get into.
Yeah, GuMiho is very safe back at home right now, even throwing down a lot of macro orbitals, creating choke points and supporting that economy quite a bit. As he's up to 5 bases and getting those critical 9th and 10th gas guys versus Terran in a section of the game where you're really hungry for gas as you want to start adding in Ghosts, perhaps maybe some Ravens, more siege tanks, as even a 3rd factory now is under production. GuMiho is going to be really happy should he be able to continue to defend these positions, but he is not maxed yet. And Solar is maxed with a large bank, so you got to think that the attacks are going to be coming from Zerg. But Nidus Canal actually in production here.
Yeah, that might be the call. If he can get like a Nidus up into the main and try to weaken some position down here. I think GuMiho has the right idea of making these big drops that can maybe come into the main and do damage there.
Yeah, if he can snipe some more tech from Zerg would be really nice for him. That Hive is already at 2/3 HP. Might be the target with this drop, and in fact it is. That Hive does get taken out. Lair immediately gets started here for Solar. Spawning pool also needs to be rebuilt, so the remax potential for Solar right now at this moment, not quite what it could be. This drop got a ton done. Man, GuMiho's everywhere right now. Took out the base at the 12 o'clock position, gonna kill this expansion too. Solar actually did get the cancel, but Liberator also delaying mining here at the top right. GuMiho with a lot of plays that are helping his tempo.
Well, I mean, this game, it's been funny, right? Things have quieted down quite a bit, but it does seem like Zerg is now free to kind of seize up as much of the map as possible, but GuMiho's growing at a pretty wild rate as well here. I do like this expansion that's like just down here out of range of the sensor tower.
Yeah, and I do not think that Solar can allow this expansion to get up, so he's going to come in now, then attack off creep. A lot of Banelings rolling in. See if the siege tank connections are good on them, and yes, they are.
That was a pretty bad attack. You got to be a little bit more grouped up.
Yeah, I think he was hoping that he could get on that position before the planetary actually morphed there in the bottom left, but I think just didn't identify how many units GuMiho actually had ready to intercept. Is 3 factory siege tank, that's a lot of siege tanks, even if we start killing them. And so for Solar now, the game is getting into a really awkward position where, yes, he does have this bank that he wants, but GuMiho has been able to work his way all the way up to 6 bases with a ton of orbitals. And now for Zerg, you almost feel like you're on the clock. Unless you're able to make plays like this one happen here at the main base. I don't think this Nidus Canal actually has gotten spotted. All right, Ghosts are attacking it, but that should be able to finish.
Yeah, this isn't going to do anything.
Okay.
Could have been huge, though, had he gotten that set up.
Yeah, good for GuMiho being able to identify that was coming into the main base.
It does seem like we're getting to the point where Terran may start to go for exhaust play.
I think we're already at that point. I think that's been the game plan for GuMiho for the past couple of minutes, is just try to create all of these problems on Solar's side of the map because he knows that his position is quite fragile back at home, and just use that pressure to establish a base in the bottom left. And now even go for, what is this, gonna be like 7 bases? We're getting to the, I mean, I'm a Protoss player. We're getting to the stage in the game where I can't even count how many expansions we have. We're gonna have to get
it becomes absurd, right? How much of the map has been taken.
Yeah, this is the count from Sesame Street. It's gonna have to warp in and help us out with this cast.
You know, it seems like the bottom left, it can be taken by the Terran. It's not going to be that easy. Keep in mind that Terran does not have a lot of minerals banked right now.
Yeah, but the army composition is just so powerful for Terran. I think you have almost 30 Ghosts on the field, and everything that's not Ghosts is basically Liberators and Siege Tanks. 13 Siege Tanks on the field, 2 Liberators, 1 Raven, 26 Ghosts with Vehicle Weapons 3 underway. We're getting to the stage in the game where now GuMiho's army is so incredibly cost efficient that you got to kind of feel that Solar has missed whatever window he might have had.
I agree. I do think this went on for a little bit too long, and now Solar, I think, who was kind of hoping that maybe the way that ByuN did, that there would be an overextension, didn't happen. But in this moment, I mean, the Ghosts are isolated up here.
They do a lot of damage to these units, though really only the Baneling, should they get good connections, will be able to clean this up, as Hydras and Lings, not ideal. And this has been a very cost-efficient trade here for Solar.
I mean, I gotta say, I mean, I would take that if I'm Solar.
Oh yeah,
that's
absolutely.
A lot of Ghosts to kill off there. But this might be another moment he has to create an opportunity.
Yeah, especially with a gas count as starved as it is here for GuMiho. Oh, actually, only with one SCV in each of those gas geysers. Slows him down quite a bit. I kind of wonder what the ghost count is at right now. Only 7, so maybe 20 ghosts in total going down there in the top left. Very nice kill for Solar. And I want to also go back to that fight and talk about it a little bit, because Solar had so many Overseers. GuMiho, you could tell that his MO was just going to be to cloak the ghosts and try and snipe the Overseers and, you know, survive that way. But there were maybe double-digit Overseers coming into that position, so great foresight there by Solar. Is now once again attacking into this position. He is preventing GuMiho from securing 2 more gas geysers here in the bottom left section of the map. And now GuMiho sitting at 160 supply. It's going to be a little bit more difficult for him to actually get back onto the field. I mean, Solar never got that killing blow that he wanted, but being able to catch all of those ghosts was a very good trade for him.
Nice fungal down there. Is there going to be more of a punish with that? Looks like they recover pretty nicely. So Zerg, this is one of the harder things to do with Zerg. When Zerg has grown into this base up here at the top, you can see it's very easy for Terran to take this out, but when you're expanding there, the Terran's not taking it. Now, Zerg, if they play this out right and either get a position broken into like this one here, if they can kind of dislodge the Terran from here, or if they can do it at the bottom, that they can play a game where they get Terran just on a small enough amount of units that they can't quite recover. But it's not always easy to pull off.
Yeah, it's a tough position. I mean, you got to have a couple more trades, like the one we just saw coming out from Solar, where he was able to kill all those ghosts. And you know that interception by Solar, going back to killing those 20 ghosts, that forced GuMiho to go into a lower tech composition. He's no longer as cost efficient as he once was, because he just doesn't have the economy to support remaxing on ghosts very quickly. He had to go back into Marine Marauder as basically a stopgap, because he needs to bridge the time where his economy is at now, I think the time where his economy is going to be at in the future once he secures this bottom left base. They can actually resume ghost production. So this is a great time for Solar to actually try and come in and get damage done.
I mean, this is a pretty big kill down here at 6. Scan is going to have all these drones just get massacred.
Actually might go back into the main base here. Yes, indeed we will. As GuMiho attacking on different sections of the map, might even be able to take out the 12 o'clock hatchery. See Solar sectioning off some units, but 3-3 Bio just does such a good job of, you know, especially the Marauders, just really shelling these things down.
It does feel like GuMiho has kind of done it. I mean, he's made these bases shrink so much. He is doing it off of just barely enough resources. I guess this base that we're watching here, we want to watch for that, and then the base that is just like directly north of this, at the very top of the map.
Yeah, GuMiho needs to secure at least one more expansion, and I agree with you where it feels like he is starting to get towards that breaking point where Solar's just not going to be able to do anything.
Oh my
goodness.
God, he's not looking. Oh, that's so many lurkers,
This
man.
top left quadrant of the map has seen some stuff, man. First the ghost, now the lurkers.
Yeah.
Quick reaction there from GuMiho, avoiding that fungal. Nice play, and now his economy is back in a position where he can actually start to bank some resources near max.
It's a lot of Banes being made, man.
And start to replenish this ghost count. So Terran's army comp only going to get scarier from here. He's actually feeling confident enough to push forward with just the Marine Marauder tank comp that he has. All right, Solar's going to try and attack in. Most of this is engaging off of creeps, so these Banelings not able to get the connections that they need. Also, Blinding Cloud is not going to be as impactful with such a low siege tank army composition here. And man, GuMiho, he might have actually just broken the back of Solar with this move.
Yeah, I mean, that was pretty brutal. But again, I mean, resources are kind of tight here on either side. This has not been a game where the Terran has been impregnable. Terran has lost a lot and has mined a lot on the few bases that are still remaining.
Yeah, but the 5th base for GuMiho, or at least the most center base, I should say, the one on the left, has a lot of minerals still left to be mined. I think it actually is a full mining base should GuMiho saturate that. So there is a lot of potential for him to get his economy back online without too much issue. And Solar can't really stop that. It's too deep in the Terran base. The defensive setup is too strong. And meanwhile, on Solar's side of the map, he is really struggling to secure 12 o'clock and 6 o'clock. These hatcheries just continuously keep getting taken out because GuMiho, not only does he have this defensive backbone on his side of the map, but he's being very mobile and very proactive with these small groups of bio units continuing to batter away at these hatcheries. And he's even scanning bases to get a better idea of what the economy is at for Solar. And Solar now, he's retaking pretty much every expansion that he can. I mean, these mules are just so
this
huge.
Is crazy. He's going to soak up so many resources here.
And it's going to go up to 4K minerals a minute.
Yeah, there it is.
Oh, we're going to hit 5K. I feel like I'm watching like the stock market. Just like something's just like ballooning right now. That's the Terran economy, man.
And it doesn't look like Zerg's going to have time to try to get in there and do any damage.
Yeah, and Solar, he is able to quote-unquote secure these bases. The top left, this position right here, close to GuMiho, and also in the bottom right at 6 o'clock, but he's not actually really able to mine from them. I mean, they're just so precariously close to the Terran position that it's very hard to actually get into a comfortable spot where you can mine from these as Zerg.
We are getting that spike up where both sides are going to max out again.
Yeah, but this time it's GuMiho with the bank.
Oh
I think
God.
that's the story.
Yeah, I think you're probably right.
I mean, he can remax on a good number of Marines and Marauders, or Marines and Ghost, depending on how he decides to go with this one. All right, Solar's going to come in once again. GuMiho just with a big liftoff here. Nice subducts on the siege tanks do dampen the position a little bit, but there just isn't enough power here for Solar to actually break through.
Yeah, I can see he's trying to like loosen this spot up so he can just kind of, you know, rest assured that base is going to be okay. Terran can't just kind of siege up and push in, but you can see immediately GuMiho kind of resets that. He's got more tanks being deployed over there.
I mean, the snipes are going to come back in on these lurkers, you got to think. Just a Marauder walks up and just slaps it once. As GuMiho's in a really comfortable spot, and Solar has to make something happen. He has pretty much no bank back at home. It's all or nothing right now. Attacking into this position, but there really is no valuable target to be found. And now he's out of position. He's losing another hatchery on the bottom left side of the map. I feel like he's just basically run out of steam.
I think so. I think the exhaust play from Terran has basically paid off here.
I mean, the mining for Zerg has to be so dismal back at home, so Solar's going to come in for one last Hail Mary play here, attacking the bottom left position. Nice blinding clouds on the siege tanks. There isn't too much here for Terran, but you got to think that once the reinforcements come in, even if the orbital does go down, I mean, Terran's going to be in a comfortable spot. I mean, 3,000 minerals in total still in the bank.
I mean, this is wild. I actually think we may see Solar tap out shortly here. It doesn't seem like he's able to get headway anywhere. Zerg is really not mining from anything that's fresh. It can't. I mean, like so many exhaust play games from the Terran, it's basically 12 and 6 that Zerg can never really control. And Terran, who always mines out a little bit later, kind of use that last few rounds of resources to propel them to that victory spot.
It certainly does feel that way. As Solar is making some ground here on this position, but just wait for the reinforcements for GuMiho to come in. And yeah, I think we're about to see GG right now with Solar at 130 supply. The income is dismal. Doesn't even have the minerals to retake this expansion here in the top of the map. And GuMiho, if he recognizes his position, which I think he might sometime soon, even just one push might end it.
Yeah,
but also he doesn't have to do that, frankly. And the
No.
smarter play is just to stay back at home and allow Zerg to continuously attack into you. And these are good engagements here for Solar, but the economy just cannot continue to support this.
Zerg has to trade out too much in each of these fights. I mean, the lurkers are very handy. As many of them as he can keep alive as possible. But, I mean, we're just seeing, you know, it's going to be like, what, a 60 army supply here for Zerg.
It's at 100 army supply right now of GuMiho. And from Solar's perspective, it seems like he's actually gaining ground, and GuMiho might be running out of money, but that is simply not the case. And once these reinforcements come in,
there it is, GG. Man, okay, game 3, go.
It was an intense back and forth match between these two.
I gotta say, GuMiho really impressed me. He had so much patience with that initial push, just having enough of everything that he needed. He didn't overextend. He didn't jump the shark there, and he basically forced Solar up into the top right, which is just a hard spot to control. Then there was that drop in the main. And look, I mean, eventually Solar cleaned it up. It was a very uncomfortable position, but by then, GuMiho had his 4th and soon 5th base up. He was able to run the clock.
Big stretch from GuMiho.
Big stretches, man.
Both these players now only 1 map win away from booking a ticket. The first ticket to the round of 4 next week. It's an exciting match, a lot on the line. We're gonna get our first Zerg in the top 4 this year.
Yeah,
or is GuMiho gonna be victorious?
The 4th race, GuMiho, and his weird play style.
He really is the 4th race, man.
Yeah.
I mean, he might be a Terran, but...
we're gonna go to Babylon here for the final map with these two, and after that we'll have 3 players left in Group A to duke it out for that 2nd spot in the round of 4. Continuing on here, Solar versus GuMiho. And what's been a very different and wild ZVT here. I mean, I don't know if GuMiho is going to go back into mech. Is he going to go for ByuN? Does he have a 3rd strat? And how exactly is Solar going to play? Time will tell as this game is finally loading up. It looks like we're ready to start this now.
2023 GSL Season 2. Onside Gaming, Solar. GuMiho.
All right. It's all going to come down to this between these two.
Ooh, CC first.
Yep. It's going to be a 3rd build. And it's going to be hatchery first here for Solar. So, I mean, there's no real punish play versus that CC first.
No, and I feel like, I mean, TBC is one of the matchups that I don't really specialize in that much, but just looking at this, I always feel a little bit more comfortable with Terran's position going CC first against the hatchery first.
Oh yeah, I mean, of course.
Feels like the tempo in the mid game just gets like 1 beat faster, and oftentimes that's enough to actually just push through and win a game, depending on what style you want to go for. I mean, remains to be seen whether GuMiho is going to play bio. Will he play mech? If he does choose to play bio, is he going to go for a 2 command center aggressive play? Is he going to go for a fast 3rd CC?
Yeah, you know, you look back at all these TVZs and how close they are, and how it's like Terran, you know, barely doesn't kill that hatchery, or, you know, there's just enough Marines in time to shoot down the last Baneling and they swing the fight. Well, I mean, that CC first can give you that extra boost to make those fights a little bit easier and to make things happen a little bit quicker. Keep in mind that, you know, you need a base to push in order to make that CC first build really work. There are a branch of builds where you go for a super quick 3rd command center as well. I don't like it as much personally, but maybe I'm just kind of stuck in my ways of kind of liking the idea of you get that 2nd base up that fast to just start that push that much quicker.
I think I'm also a fan of the 2-base aggression.
Yeah, I like it.
We never really got to see the reason why that got shifted out of the meta here in Korea, because it seemed to happen out of the GSL. There was just a point where the Terran players decided, okay, this is no longer the best way to play the matchup. We're not even going to attempt it in Code S.
Well, it also seemed like it was kind of this check. Like, wait a minute, how greedy can we get? Because it was so new at the time. Was that a barracks they spotted at the very, very top?
Yeah. GuMiho building a barracks all the way there in the bottom or top left, so being a little bit tricky here. I mean, this is kind of a 2-on-1 in a way.
Yeah, basically, I think he wants to generate the idea of like, well, am I going to go bio? Am I going to go for a mech play? You won't know yet. And of course, you know, as we've said before, getting the quick command center, I mean, that's just a starting point of a build that can go in many different directions. All the extra command center does is say, I have resources that much faster. And there's many theories on how to play it from there. But, you know, with a guy like GuMiho, if I'm Solar, I'm like, all right, is this some kind of like, are you going to have like another factory soon for Cyclones? I mean, how do you play this? When in reality, it seems like it's going to be much more vanilla.
Yeah, and I think Solar also coming in with that deep scout with the Overlord like that, you're expecting to see a little bit more infrastructure for the Terran. And, you know, he might not have been keyed on into it exactly what is the setup is here for GuMiho, but not seeing that barracks, you got to think as Zerg in that position that something's a little bit off. And if you can't put your finger on exactly what it is against a player like GuMiho, it could be the kind of situation where you start to get a little bit inside your own head and then maybe start second guessing what your tech choices are going to be, what your timings are going to be for unit production, for upgrades. And we'll see now. It seems like Solar with aggression is going to be able to try and find some information, but doesn't glean too much.
So he sees the Hellions, he sees the Marines, or at least he saw some of them. That should give him an idea of what's going on. And we don't have a third CC yet, so it does look like this is angled towards a push, especially with that +1 attack upgrade coming now.
This is very similar to the build we saw from ByuN, I think, in his series against Solar. And I'm trying to remember whether ByuN won. That was game 3, right? So Solar did emerge victorious from that one, but it was a wild game.
Yeah, I think that was the one. I think ByuN was in the bottom right in that game, and I think he messed up in his push somewhere. It seemed like he was going to take it, but then he couldn't.
Yeah, we'll see exactly how this one's going to go for GuMiho. I'm curious about when that command center is going to get thrown down, because you got to think that it's probably inevitable with a player like GuMiho. I mean, if this was ByuN, we've seen games from ByuN even this year where he will just sit and, okay, 3 more barracks. So GuMiho was just going balls to the wall. He's going to be fully aggressive here. Okay, there's the third command center, but still, 5 barracks this early.
It's a late third command center in this game. That's very cool to see.
Aggression is going to be the focus here for GuMiho. And again, just 1 engineering bay. So just focusing on +1 in true weapons. This is something that ByuN did in his match against Solar, but GuMiho with a little bit better of a fallback plan here, going for that third command center. As these Marines should be able to trade out quite efficiently here. Nice angle, actually.
Dude, that is so good.
Yeah.
That actually might be too much. I was kind of watching with my jaw agape, like, are you going to pull away soon? Now, granted, the Marines were picked off. I mean, that's pretty big.
Yeah, this medevac's going to die to Spore Crawler, too, but that was a very nice trade there for GuMiho.
That was wild.
At least cost efficient with the Lings, and was able to get a good number of drones there at the third base, plus some idle time in the main base as well.
So that fourth base is starting, although I would imagine the Zerg's third base is going to be where the target's going to be set up at.
Yeah, in Babylon, I feel like it's almost always that third base that players focus on. Is more upgrades now coming in. +1 Carapace and Baneling Speed getting researched here for Solar. With actually both upgrades coming in, melee attack as well. Meanwhile, GuMiho very slowly going to be working his way up to +2 infantry weapons and +1 armor. Of course, now only adding in that second engineering bay and armory.
Yeah, nicely done. Doesn't lose anything just there with that. Just kind of keeping the Zerg on his toes. With the reactors up, this is really where the engine of growth is at. That's going to be so many Marines in. A couple rounds of those Marines out, and it's going to be such a headache for the Zerg to deal with. And this is all kind of building into that most important part of the mid game here, as the fourth base is finishing, and the Zerg is trying to take that next step into development.
Yeah, and GuMiho just continues to find these really nice trades. He has +1 infantry weapons to the 0 upgrades right now for Solar, so anytime he can make these small engagements happen with Marines against the Lings and then find his way to lift out of it, it's very good for him. And now Solar going for that Hydralisk Den, his tried and true. We've seen this work for him over the course of this entire GSL, whether it was in the round of 16 or in his round of 8 match against ByuN earlier today. Once Solar gets up to a very heavy Lingbane count with Hydras accompanying, it's very tough to break through as Terran.
This is a funny little harass army. It's like a tank and 4 Marines.
Is that a tank in the medevac? Actually, is it? No.
Yeah, it's the tank in the medevac, like it's part of the squad. But, you know, one thing about GuMiho today, he's really shown he's extremely patient with his army. He doesn't overextend. He doesn't get greedy. It is a bit of the opposite of ByuN here. I was talking earlier as well in the cast that, like, his pushes aren't as good as, like, the rest of the Terrans in Korea. It does look pretty good, actually. Yeah. I'm kind of surprised. I mean, it looks like he's just as good as the rest today.
Coming in from an actually interesting angle, we don't really see this position being the way that the third base is breached here. Usually in TVZ. He's GuMiho with a really wide spread of tanks. I think looking at the mini-map, we have 3 spread across this base here at 6 o'clock.
This is going to be a big surround here. These tanks are pretty exposed. The Marines are very much so stuffed in the back.
Yeah, I think the focus right now is the Marines. The siege tanks are just here to support and take some of the aggro right now. Is the Marines able to trade quite efficiently right now and then lifting all 3 full medevacs into the main base. Now the Queens are able to snipe one of them down with a couple of Marines in it, but the damage continuing to come in right now into the main.
Again, it's why this position is so abusable. The Lings are getting a little bit separated here. Yeah. And it's allowing a lot more damage output. The game continues on, but it would seem like Solar is beginning to stabilize here.
Yeah, now GuMiho going for a 4th command center, 3 more barracks on the low ground. Still hasn't fully dislodged GuMiho from this position here at 6 o'clock. So this could become a point of contention in the future, especially now with the creep spread getting thinned out. Not sure whether GuMiho is aware there actually is 1 more creep tumor remaining there on that expansion, but nice denial here on this hatchery. Wow, coming into the main base with almost everything.
I mean, a big drop, but I don't see a whole lot here to try to fight this.
Yeah, Solar's out of position right now, and he doesn't have a lot of lings, so it's going to be slow reinforcing in. I think the lair is going to go down. Maybe the spawning pool as well, depending on how quickly Solar's able to react to this.
It seems like he's already accepted that. He's remaking his spawning pool now, but I mean, this is going to be a very tough fight right now for Solar.
Yeah, and GuMiho just pieces out with these medevacs. Coming back again to the top right, we'll try to delay that expansion if he can. Seems like reinforcements from Solar should be able to remove the Marines from this position, but that was a really nice trade there for GuMiho, not only slowing down the expansions, or the mining I should say, of Solar, but also, excuse me, the tech getting reset a little bit with the lair going down as well as the spawning pool.
Yeah, he's starting to snipe those Banes. He picks up and pulls right back out. There's a tank here. Is that the same tank from before?
I think this one moved in from the left side, all the way over here to the right.
Must have.
Oh, wow.
I think we may just be at the tipping point here.
Yeah, GuMiho is playing this so well right now. Nice split with the Marines, really mitigating the damage coming in from these Banelings. The siege tanks just absolutely shred the Hydras on the bottom line, and Solar, he might be able to clean this up, but the damage, it feels like it's too much. Reinforcements coming in, Tasteless, 60 army supply to 36.
Beautifully done here, and it looks like Solar is going to fall. Of all the players to get out first today, GuMiho is the survivor.
Wow. I mean, GuMiho coming into today, we knew that he's been in very good form. We saw him, you know, succeed at ESL Summer Masters and all throughout GSL. Season 2, he's been playing out of his mind, but taking down Maru and now on the doorstep of knocking Solar out as well. It's just pretty incredible play we're seeing out of him.
I mean, did we see him trying to... Yeah, that's going to be it. I was going to say, like, I'm trying to figure out how to play-by-play this. It's already over. GG. GuMiho does it. Wow.
Well-deserved, too. I mean, this has been a fantastic day from GuMiho.
This is really something else, man. I mean, GuMiho played so well. We're going to go to an interview with him momentarily here and see how he's feeling. But what a set of games from him. I mean, he blew this group out of the water.
Yeah, this has just been a clinic. In TBT, the killer in streak there against Maru in game number 1. And game number 2, he played such a creative late game mech versus mech.
Yeah.
With some really clever plays. And then coming back from an 0-1 deficit against Solar, he was on match point basically the entire series, kept his cool, and came out with a different build every single time.
Yeah, I mean, what a range of play. What an exhausting exit into the round of 4. I mean, he had to really, like that game against Maru, where it was just, Sky Terran versus Sky Terran, and he kind of knew the answer. He knew, okay, get a couple tanks, take your SCVs, push into the main, and take out Maru's infrastructure. Phenomenal stuff, showing mech play, but also bio play at the highest level against one of the best Zergs in the whole world, Solar.
In both matchups, TBT and TVZ, he was going both bio and mech. I mean, seems like he has the widest range of any Terran in the GSL right now.
That does seem to be the case. I think you're 100% right about that. And now this means Solar is going to go to the final match. We're going to have a TVT coming up in just a little bit here. That's going to be ByuN versus Maru. Again, Maru probably the favorite, but who knows? ByuN, sometimes he could really pull through. And now we go to the interview with GuMiho. Congratulations, he says thank you. What a tough series this was for you. What was going on in your mind when you found out all the trains to Seoul were canceled and you had no way to get to Seoul? When I got to the train station, there were so many people waiting. All these announcements were happening saying this train's delayed and that train's delayed. So I was scrambling to find any train I could take that would get me close to Seoul. And when I saw even that train was canceled, I thought, oh gosh, is this the end of my run for GSL? I took photos, provided my proof. And I'm very grateful I was able to continue to participate even though I'm playing from home. He went against Maru. Maru said he couldn't quite figure out how he lost that game. They're referencing the Viking battlecruiser game.
근데 이게 유일하게 약간 빈틈 같은 공간이 하나 있었잖아요. 바이킹이 그냥 지나갈 수 있는 공간이. 그리고 제 SCB가 한 그 당시에
Maru was very focused on most of the details throughout that game.
그래서 그러니까 그 상황이 되면은 약간 본진에 터렛 쳐질까 봐.
I had my SCVs on auto repair.
안 좋은 진영으로 싸운 것 같아요. 조성주 선수. 그리고 오토 리페어도 되게 컸고.
I think once Maru hit me when I had the SCVs repairing the Vikings, it was just really bad for him, and I think that's where I won. Apparently Maru's been rewatching the replay over and over.
자, 이번에는 가장 먼저 좀 상에 올라가게 되었습니다. 이번 시즌 목표 한 말씀 부탁드리겠습니다.
So you're the only Terran to not make it to semifinals last season. This time you're the first.
4강 꼭 이기고 이번
How do you feel?
결승은 꼭 가고 싶습니다.
야, 원래 지금 조성주 선수 이기는 게 목표라고 했는데 오늘 목표를 이뤘어요.
This time I just really want to make it to the finals.
네, 이왕이면 우승.
Next, last interview you said your goal is to beat Maru, and you've done that. You have another goal now? One goal down, another one set up now. I want to get to the finals. Any words to the fans? Sorry everybody who's watching that I wasn't able to be in the tournament in person.
다시 와주시면 감사하겠고 그리고 약간 선수들한테도 약간 본의 아니게 좀 미안한 감정이 있어요. 이게 집에서 하는 게 제가 좀 더 유리하다는 걸 부정하기 살짝 힘들거든요.
I also feel sorry for my opponents that I wasn't able to greet them in person.
미안한 마음. 근데 저도 진짜 올라가려고 노력을 많이 올라가려고.
I know playing at home is always a little bit more comfortable.
죄송하고 그리고 또
So I do feel bad for that.
제가 좀 당황을 많이 했는데 GSL에서 이게 PD님이랑 작가님들이 이 되게 잘 뭐라 그래 컴바운드 시켜주는.
I just want to tell everybody I really tried my best to get into Seoul. Also, thank you for all the staff for helping me and being understanding and letting me continue to compete in my tournament. All right, congrats, GuMiho. I'm glad we were able to kind of remedy that. I guess totally remedy that. And so he'll be going on into the round of 4. Now, the round of 4 is on the same day as the finals. So, I mean, he's already shown he can do a marathon of games here today. He looks like he could be a guy who could win the whole tournament here.
Absolutely,
in good form.
I mean, if he continues to play the way that he did today, I would not be surprised if GuMiho was a GSL champion again this year.
Yeah, I agree. And now we got to see who's going to make it out. I mean, can Maru actually come out on top, or is this just going to be one of these seasons where round of 8 is too tough and he gets flushed out?
I mean, Maru versus ByuN as the losers match for today just kind of shows how insane this group is. I mean, the top of 8 GSL this season is so stacked.
Yeah, it's so
unbelievable.
Nuts. I mean, people are in such good shape. We're going to go to a break. We'll be back shortly.
I got the numbers, I'm on the lineup, I rock designer.